You're listening to English with Monty, the podcast about the English language. Today is 8-Minute English, talking about infinitives of purpose. Hello there and welcome to 8-Minute English, and I've got Gideon on the show who's going to talk to me about infinitives of purpose, and he's assured me that he knows everything, so that's great. Is that true?
Dun, 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 dun. Doing your intro music for you, John. Because you were saying before you didn't have any intro music, so I thought I'd do it myself.
That was a suitable replacement.
Dun, 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 John's podcast.
Excellent. I'm going to use that next time. We've only got 8 minutes, but thank you for the
That's
wonderful...
a pity because my intro lasts 7.5 minutes.
You're always trying to sabotage these episodes, aren't you? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So tell us about infinitive of purpose. When do we use them? What is infinitive of purpose?
Oh, you put me on the spot here.
I have indeed.
I know that this is one of the most common mistakes I get because when I'm teaching English, especially with like lower level, it's one of those mistakes that you just hear at lower levels of English. There are some mistakes as an English teacher, there's some mistakes, even like advanced, goes right from beginners to advanced, and there are other mistakes somehow gets cleared up. So I hope you're in that category where you use this correctly. Because there's often the translation from, I don't know, I teach a lot of French students, Spanish and things. I went to the shop to buy some tomatoes.
Yeah, it's very common that. Or even for buy.
For buy. That's right, because they're translating often para comprar or whatever language you speak. So it's a literal translation. That's very, very common. But once you know it, the rules are so simple that once you know it, you get it right in the end. All you need to do is remember that if you give a reason for doing something, just use the infinitive. So if I'm asking why, John, why did you go to the shops?
To buy some tomatoes.
I thought you'd give your own example.
Oh, I'm sorry. To buy a courgette.
Okay.
Which they call zucchini in America, just in case people want to know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Why did you get that tattoo of the dragon?
To declare my love for Amy Fairweather.
Okay. Does she look like a dragon? Does Amy Fairweather look like a dragon?
That's a strange example, isn't it?
I thought you'd have a tattoo that says Amy.
That's true. That would be normal. Yes.
Not normal.
Not very normal.
Not that normal.
No, that's true. Good job. She's a fictional character, isn't it?
Is she? Are they matching tattoos? I thought she would have one that says John.
Yeah, pretty much. That's correct. John without the H.
The thing is, if you break up with Amy, she could find another John.
That's true.
I could easily. I've got that tattoo now.
I could also
stick with John's.
Another dragon, but
but finding another Amy is more difficult because it's less common, isn't it?
It is 8 minutes this episode. You do realize that.
If she was dating me, Gideon, that's going to be more difficult, isn't it? Oh.
Why do you have a bicycle? Let's move on. Why do you have a bicycle?
No, I don't want to move on. To get to work. I have a bicycle to get to work.
Yeah, so you could say I use it to go to work as well, couldn't you? Or simply just say to go to work.
Exactly. And seriously though, John, this is how I teach the infinitive of purpose. I just ask lots of questions and in the end, they get it. They know they have to answer with infinitive too. So we could do that. John, why do you live by the sea?
To go for swims in the water.
Okay.
That doesn't work, does it? Why do you live
Not really. Not really. Why are you doing this podcast?
To maybe become as hideously wealthy as you.
Okay.
Possibly.
I thought to connect with people.
Sorry, to connect with people. That's correct. That's the real reason. But I thought this was another interesting thing to include things like for and somebody. For example, we make these podcasts for you to get better at English.
Yeah.
That's another good way of talking about things, as in an additional thing you can put in there for you.
We did it for you to improve your English, yeah. I could point out one other mistake at this time, John, because of course you can use for, because I said don't use for if you're doing the reason for something, only if it's a function. Okay. So for example, if I hit you over the head with my mobile phone, you would say a phone is for calling people, not for hitting people. Okay, we're talking about the function of the phone. Because why do you use a phone? I've used a phone to call people. Okay, that's the purpose of the phone. A pen is for writing, not for eating.
Yeah, that's a good
I
one.
use
though,
a pen to write.
That's an important difference, though, isn't it? I like that.
Yeah, because I've had people come back to me and says, I'm sure I heard someone say for. That would be, well, it's not an exception. It's just a different case. That's when you would use for, but much rarer.
I suppose you can include in order to and so as to as well in this to make it a bit more formal, couldn't you?
Yeah, for example.
The government has raised taxes in order to fund the NHS.
Exactly, yeah. So in order to is just a more formal way of saying to infinitive. Exactly.
People have taken to the streets so as to protest against the increase in taxes.
Mm-hmm. Why do you go to the gym?
In order to get fit.
Okay, all right.
Why don't you go to the gym?
That's an interesting point, because what about the negative?
Yeah. So with the negative, well, you'd say in order not to or so as not to.
Yeah.
What about with the infinitive of purpose on its own? How do you do that?
What do you mean? Negative?
Negative, yeah.
So I'm putting it in the bottle so as not to waste it.
Mm-hmm. You could use it on its own, couldn't you? I'm putting it in the bottle not to waste it.
Yeah.
So it's just not in front of the infinitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does it really matter if you say to not waste it?
Not to waste it. I think you could split the infinitive. I think it's all right. Some people would say put the not before.
I mean, I suppose usually they say put the not before, don't they? But it doesn't matter too much, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else you wanted to add?
Just requires some practice. That's all. I think you'll get it if you don't know this infinitive purpose.
Yeah, and think of why questions and create a purpose from there. I think that's the key, isn't it, to practice it?
Yeah. I'll just remind you, the mistake. So I'm going to Bristol this weekend to see my mother. No, definitely not. I'm going to Bristol this weekend to see my mother.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Bristol this weekend, not to see my mother, but to see my friend. Okay, that's an example of a negative.
I think that's a very good example. Thank you for that. Excellent. Thanks for joining me again, Gideon.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to 8 Minute English.